What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. In this video today, going to be going over not a new topic, not a super old topic, but it's definitely a topic that's been discussed on the channel, a topic discussed in Ravens media, not really the national media, but we got to do it. John Harbaugh. Let's talk about John Harbaugh. I haven't talked about him in this sense really at all this offseason since we fired Greg Roman. But let's talk about the hot seat, because I've been very anti-John Harbaugh, very anti-Greg Roman, very I was very anti-Wink Martindale. But all last season I was saying we need to fire John Harbaugh, because he didn't have the cojones to fire Greg Roman. But now he did that, hires Todd Monken. The Ravens bring in all of these new assets. So what is the pressure? What status does John Harbaugh's job have in Baltimore? Because I got to say, I still think this is the hot seat, because you're looking at it from a fan's perspective, Eric DeCosta's perspective, anybody in management, ownership, all of their perspectives. This is supposed to be the year. The quote-unquote problems that the Baltimore Ravens have had over the last couple of seasons that has held them back from winning a championship, that being Greg Roman, that being an extra, aggressive defense, both of those are gone. The quote-unquote issues outside of John Harbaugh are gone. And so the expectation for this team, maybe not from the national media perspective, but from the fan base, from the players, from the organization's perspective, is to win this Super Bowl. I'm not here to say that if the Ravens don't win the Super Bowl, John Harbaugh needs to be fired. I'm not of that stance. I think if the Ravens have a disappointing season, then he needs to be fired. The question is, what type of season would be a disappointment? In my opinion, obviously discounting any injuries or serious things that come up, right? If Lamar gets hurt, we're probably not firing Harbaugh, unless something crazy were to happen, unless the Ravens were like 0-7 and then Lamar gets hurt. Knocking on wood. John Harbaugh is going to stay. But, if they're fully healthy all season long, I fully expect them to make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs and they're healthy all season long, he's fired right away. But I fully expect them to make the playoffs. I think it fully comes down to playoff execution. That doesn't mean playoff wins. It means playoff execution. And execution, I mean, are they doing things that make sense? Because in recent years, under Greg Roman, under Wink Martindale, under John Harbaugh, obviously, in the playoffs, there have been a lot of questionable things that happen. Whether it's Gus Edwards not being run after Mark Ingram ends up getting injured and in the Tennessee Titans game. Whether it's going up against the Buffalo Bills and, just struggling mightily in the red zone. And then obviously Lamar Jackson gets hurt. Whether it's last year against the Cincinnati Bengals and, just, again, poor execution, QB sneak from the 2-yard line. Honestly, what's funny about that, QB sneak, we all clown on Tyler Huntley because, he tried to reach the ball over. Why would you call a QB sneak from the 2-yard line anyway? Like, it's not going to score you a touchdown from the 2. That's what they called. He tried to jump over the pylon. Obviously, it didn't work, but even the play call made no sense. But the execution was atrocious. The Ravens don't need to win the Super Bowl. The Ravens don't need to get to the conference championship. They don't need to get to the Super Bowl. They don't need to do any of that. What they need to do is execute. Because I've said dozens of times, if the Ravens lose, but they play to the best of their ability, I am always going to be fine with that. I'm not going to be upset. And when they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals last year, I wasn't that upset because I thought they played very well. And I was very satisfied with the result. Obviously, the fumble kills. But at the same time, I was like, I didn't expect to win that game. That was a game they shouldn't have even been that close in, but they played so well to get into that game that I wasn't that upset that they lost because they shouldn't have even been that close. Looking at it on paper, right? Tyler Huntley versus Joe Burrow. Come on. Nobody gave the Ravens a chance. And they played very, very well. And they ended up losing because of a couple of critical errors. I wasn't that upset about that. It's when they go out and it's just like, oh, wow, they look atrocious. Oh, they're calling bad plays. They're not giving it to their star players. Like they lost to the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs. That's when I get frustrated. That's when I get angry because it's like, what are you doing? That has been the issue that has plagued the Baltimore Ravens in big games over the last few seasons. And that is where John Harbaugh's job is on the line. And, just because he makes the playoffs, whether or not the Ravens win the division or not, they might not win the division. I don't care if they win the division or not. All they have to do is make it to the playoffs. This is a 7-team playoff series, right? This isn't, like it used to be with 6. No, it's very easy to make the playoffs nowadays. They just need to make sure that they execute. And we have seen teams that make the playoffs fire head coaches because they struggle. Not as much in the NFL, but it's done a lot in the NBA. Look at the Milwaukee Bucks. Look at the Phoenix Suns, 2 of the best teams in the NBA last year. They fired their coach. Why? Because even though they had done great things for the organization, even though the teams were very good, they didn't execute in the postseason. That is the aspect. That is the situation I see, John Harbaugh in. You got your franchise quarterback. You do not want to stick your franchise quarterback with a coach if it's not working. So they have 5 years with Lamar Jackson, and they know when you draft a rookie quarterback, you don't know if they're going to turn out, right? But now they know Lamar Jackson is a superstar. They need to win a Super Bowl. And if John Harbaugh isn't executing, they need to move on so that they have 4 years with another coach, right? That is my expectation for John Harbaugh. I hope he doesn't get fired, because if he doesn't get fired, my belief would be that he coached a great season. The Ravens' offense was good. They called good plays. They executed well. They got themselves into situation. Doesn't mean they won the Super Bowl. That would be the goal, but it's doable. And at the same time, he's been here a long time. There's been some disappointing seasons, but I like John Harbaugh. I think I think Lamar likes him. I think the organization likes him. But at some point, if he doesn't perform, he is on the hot seat. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on John Harbaugh. Do you think he's going to exceed expectations, fall short? And what are your expectations for Harbaugh and the Ravens season? Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.